my mother said. I wish you were never born. After I refused to pay for my brother's wedding. Hi, I'm Thomas. I'm 29, and last week my mother told me she wished I was never born. So I told her. Consider me dead. What happened next? Total chaos. Nuclear level fallout. The kind of family implosion that makes you question everything you ever tolerated in the name of keeping the peace. But let me back up. This didn't come out of nowhere. It started the way it always does, with my younger brother getting everything handed to him, while I was expected to just clap from the sidelines. His name's Carter. He's 26 and somehow has the emotional maturity of a golden retriever mixed with a failed influencer. My parents treat him like he's the second coming of Steve Jobs, Michelangelo, and Harry Styles rolled into one. Meanwhile, I could discover the cure for aging and they'd still ask me if Carter had helped. Growing up, I got the attic bedroom with no insulation and a draft that made winters feel like the inside of a meat locker. Carter got the sunlit corner room with a bay window and a ceiling fan. He got a 2005 Jeep Wrangler on his birthday. I got a firm handshake and a reminder that bikes are good for cardio. But I swallowed it. All of it. Every double standard, every. Well, Carter just needs a little more support. I worked 2 jobs through college. Graduated with 0 help. Built a career in logistics that I'm damn proud of. Might not be flashy, but I run a $12 million operation across 6 states. Carter? He's still figuring things out. Which apparently requires living in my parents' guest house rent-free, getting $1,000 a month in creative support from them, and occasionally uploading TikToks about manifesting success. Anyway. 3 weeks ago, he announced he was proposing to his girlfriend Mia, who calls herself a wellness brand strategist, and sells moon water on Etsy. My parents went ballistic in the good way. Full-blown engagement party planning, Pinterest boards, booked a venue, hired a caterer, ordered monogrammed napkins. Then they asked me for money. Not gently. Not politely. My dad called and said, "Since you're doing so well, it'd be great if you could pitch in $2,500 for the party." Carter's tight on cash, you know. Like it was a utility bill. Like my success somehow obligated me to bankroll Carter's romantic delusions. I said no. Calmly. Respectfully. And that, apparently, was the greatest betrayal since Cain and Abel. My mom called me 3 days later, and when I stood my ground again, she said the words I'll never forget. "Maybe I wish you were never born." It hit like a truck. And then it didn't. Because honestly, I think she's been wishing that since Carter was born. So I just replied, "Cool. Consider me dead then." And I meant it. I hung up. Blocked their numbers. Shut the door on 3 decades of being their backup son. But what happened next? That's when things got truly wild. The first 24 hours were eerily quiet. I expected rage texts, guilt voicemails, maybe an ambush from Carter telling me to be the bigger man. But it was radio silence. And I'll admit, part of me thought, maybe they actually don't care that I'm gone. Maybe she meant it. But then came the fallout. At 7:14 a.m. the next morning, I got a call at work. Not to my cell, my actual office line. It was my dad. Somehow, he'd gotten through reception and was now asking my assistant to transfer him. I picked up because curiosity beat out self-preservation. "Thomas," he started in that forced calm tone he uses right before he loses it. "This is getting out of hand." "Getting?" I said. Feels pretty on brand. He launched into some speech about how this family doesn't operate on ultimatums, how I'd embarrassed them by refusing to contribute, how I was acting ungrateful after all they'd done for me. I said, "Dad, you bought Carter a car, paid for his tuition, funded his Instagram career, and threw him a graduation party for a degree he didn't even finish. You gave me a book on budgeting and a pat on the back. So please, walk me through this all you've done for me list. I've got time." He didn't like that. Said I was being petty. Said Carter was in a more vulnerable life stage. And that I had a duty to support him. I told him I had a duty to myself. To my boundaries. And that if he ever called my workplace again, I'd make sure HR had it on file. I hung up. Later that day, I got a string of emails from extended family. Aunts I hadn't heard from in years. A cousin who once unfollowed me for posting too many non-wedding pictures. All of them echoing the same script. "Your mom is devastated. Family is all we have. You're throwing away 29 years over a party?" No one, not one person, asked what she said to me. No one asked what it felt like to be told by your own mother that you shouldn't exist. They didn't want the truth. They wanted me back in my assigned seat, quiet, compliant, and helpful. And now that I'd broken character, it was an emergency. So I did what every tired, emotionally abandoned adult does. I got petty. I logged into the shared Dropbox account my parents still used for family documents. Yes, they gave me access years ago. No, they never changed the password. And what do I find? Wedding vendor invoices. Caterer, $4,200. Venue deposit, $3,000. Custom neon sign that says, Mia and Carter's Manifestation, $980. A live acoustic cover band that specializes in Coldplay, $2,500. And next to that? A spreadsheet projecting my contribution. They literally penciled me in for $2,500. Labeled it, Thomas, inevitable. Inevitable. Like I was a freaking ATM with abandonment issues. That's when I decided this wasn't going to be a temporary break. This was full-on no contact. But it didn't end there. Because Carter? Carter had feelings. And he was about to share them. Carter showed up at my house. Uninvited. It was a Tuesday night. I was halfway through reheating leftover pad thai when I heard a knock. I checked the peephole and nearly choked on a noodle. There he was, in his usual Carter uniform, distressed jeans, a hoodie that probably cost more than my monthly car payment, and a look on his face like he was the victim in all this. I didn't open the door. I cracked the window instead. Dude, we need to talk, he said. No, you need to leave. Come on, he whined. You're blowing this way out of proportion. That word, proportion, set me off like a switch. I pushed the window up a little higher. Carter, our mother told me she wished I was never born. You stood there while she said it. Then you reposted her Instagram story the next day. Don't you dare tell me about proportion. He actually had the audacity to shrug. She didn't mean it. She was just stressed about the party. Oh, sorry. Let me get this straight. Her stress over whether your Coldplay cover band had the right lighting setup justifies telling me I shouldn't exist? He shifted, the guilt starting to creep in, but not fast enough. I mean, you've always been dramatic, Tom. This isn't new. You've got that chip on your shoulder like everyone's out to get you. Oh, he wanted smoke? I gave him fire. You know what, Carter? You're right. I do have a chip. A chip from watching our parents pay for your rent, your car, your failure of a brand, and still act like I should be grateful they remembered my birthday. I do have a chip, and it's shaped like every time they praised you for breathing and ignored me for building an actual life. He looked stunned. No comeback. Just blinking. Like maybe, the Golden Child programming had a glitch. Then he pulled the oldest Carter move in the book, deflect and whine. Mia's parents are asking questions, he mumbled. They want to know why my brother isn't involved. It's embarrassing. They think our family is dysfunctional. And right there, that was the twist. This wasn't about Mom. Or me. Or healing. This was about saving face. He needed me to show up, smile, and pretend like we were one big happy family so Mia's crystal-wearing, moon-charging parents wouldn't think twice about letting their daughter marry into our mess. Well, I said, they're not wrong. This family is dysfunctional. And pretending otherwise? That's the most toxic tradition we've got. Carter clenched his jaw. Are you really gonna let this ruin my engagement? I leaned out the window just enough for him to see I wasn't flinching. I didn't ruin your engagement, Carter. Your entitlement did. Your silence did. Mom did. I just finally stopped playing along. Then I closed the window. He stood there for a few seconds, maybe hoping I'd come back. I didn't. 2 hours later, I got a text. From Carter. Wow. Cold. My reply. So is the shoulder you've been giving me for 29 years. That was the last I heard from him. Until his fiancée got involved. And that was a whole new level of chaos. Mia called me. I don't know how she got my number, probably Carter's phone, but 2 days after our little window showdown, my phone rang with an unknown contact. I picked up, thinking it might be work, and instead got hit with, Hi, Thomas. It's Mia. I think we should talk. Let me be clear, Mia has never called me. Not once. Not even a Merry Christmas group text. She's the kind of person who posts about positive energy and honoring her chakras. but has the spine of a wet paper towel. So I was curious. I said, "Go on." She jumped right in. "I don't think you understand how much this wedding means to Carter. Or to me. And what your absence is doing to him." I let that hang in the air for a beat. Then, "What I don't think you understand is that your fiancé watched his mother tell me I shouldn't have been born, and he just stood there." Well, she was upset. "And I'm done being the family punching bag." She tried a softer tone. "Look, I know things have been unfair. Carter's told me a bit more lately. He's reflecting." I almost laughed. "Reflecting? What is this yoga class?" "Good for him," I said. "But that reflection doesn't come with a reset button." She hesitated. Then dropped the real reason she called. "My parents are threatening to pull their contribution to the wedding. They think there's something seriously wrong with your family dynamic, and Carter won't tell them the full story." I raised my eyebrows. Now that made sense. It wasn't love or healing or emotional growth. It was dollars. Mia's parents, who were footing a good chunk of this overpriced love fest, were spooked. And Carter, sweet, spineless Carter, was hoping I'd play the nice brother role one last time so he wouldn't have to explain why his only sibling wasn't coming to the wedding. I said, "Let me guess. You want me to show up, smile for pictures, maybe even give a toast to the happy couple so everything looks good?" Silence. "That'd be nice," she finally said. "For optics." That word, optics, sent my blood pressure into the stratosphere. "Here's the problem, Mia," I said calmly. "Your entire relationship with my family has been based on the version of them they show off. But that version doesn't include me. And if I show up now, I'm just co-signing that lie. I won't do it." She tried one more guilt trip. "I thought you cared about Carter." I didn't yell. I didn't rant. I just said the most honest thing I've ever said. I used to. I used to care more than he ever did about me. But eventually, caring turns into self-harm when it's never returned. And I hung up. 15 minutes later, I got a notification. Mia had unfollowed me on Instagram. 10 minutes after that? Blocked. Guess the moon didn't like what I had to say. But I wasn't done yet. Because remember that family Dropbox folder? Yeah. I went back in. And what I found? That was the moment everything snapped into place. So, about that Dropbox folder. I know, I should have let it go. Should have stopped checking. Should have walked away clean and kept my sanity intact. But curiosity is a hell of a drug. And after that phone call with Mia, I needed to see how deep the rabbit hole went. Spoiler, it went deep. Tucked in a subfolder labeled Wedding Vision, Final this one really was a spreadsheet, an actual, color-coded, multi-tab spreadsheet titled Thomas Outreach Plan. I opened it. I shouldn't have. There were notes. Talking points. A literal strategy chart with columns like emotional angle, messenger, estimated guilt level, and obstacles, stubbornness, therapy influence. Under messenger, it listed Dad, try financial pressure first. Carter, appeal to brotherhood. Mia, play the he's hurting Carter card. And Mel, bring up childhood memories. And then under my name, in bright red font, Thomas is more likely to cave if reminded how much his absence will hurt Mom publicly. Publicly. As in, optics again. Below that it said, Last resort, have Mom apologize. Waterworks if needed. Like she was a button they could push for tears. Like I was a machine programmed to respond to emotional blackmail, and just needed the right combo to break. I felt sick. I scrolled further and found a tab titled Post-Wedding Reconciliation Plan, which included Invite Thomas for a private dinner with Mom and Dad to smooth things over. Offer to match Carter's college funding retroactively, if he contributes to the honeymoon. Publicly thank him in speech to boost ego. I closed the laptop. Not gently. It was all a performance to them. I wasn't family, I was PR recovery. That same night I got a text from Aunt Mel. One I'd usually ignore. But this time? It was different. Thomas. I know you're upset. But your mom's not doing well. She's really struggling. Think about reaching out. She needs her son. And maybe 5 months ago, that message would have hit hard. But now I'd seen the blueprint. Now I knew exactly what was real and what was just stage lighting. I replied, She has a son. He's getting married. I'm not part of the cast anymore. The next day, I drafted a letter. A legal one. I hired a lawyer, shout out to Laura Chang, queen of no-nonsense cease and desists, and we sent an official notice to my parents, Carter, Mia, and yes, even Aunt Mel. Any further attempt to contact me through family, workplace, or social media will be considered harassment. Legal action will follow. Guess how fast the group chat went dead? 5 minutes. Then came the retaliation. But this time, it wasn't from them. It was from Brooklyn, Carter's ex-girlfriend. And yes, that's a twist you didn't see coming. So yeah, Brooklyn. Carter's ex from 2 years ago. The one before Mia? The one my mom pretended never existed once Mia's Smoothie and Crystals era began. She slid into my DMs like a plot twist in a bad soap opera. Hey Thomas. I heard about what's going on. Wild stuff. You okay? I stared at it for a second, unsure if this was some new manipulation tactic. Then I remembered. Brooklyn was the only person I'd ever seen call out my mom to her face. At a Christmas party, no less. Over a single snide comment about her tattoos. She'd replied, "Did you rehearse that line, or is passive aggression just your cardio?" Iconic. So I replied. Cautiously. Doing fine. Just cutting off the circus tent one rope at a time. She responded instantly. Good. Honestly, I always thought you were the only sane one in that family. The stuff I saw when I was dating Carter? Unreal. I asked her what she meant. She asked if I wanted receipts. I said always. And then she dropped them. Screenshots. Voice memos. Even an old email thread she'd saved. Just in case. And holy hell, just in case was the understatement of the decade. One gem from my mother, sent to Carter after a fight. Thomas is the reason your self-esteem is low. We praised him too much growing up. Should have balanced it better. And this wasn't when Carter was 12. It was last year. Another from a group thread between Mom, Dad, and Carter, no Mia, no outsiders, discussing whether to invite me to a family reunion. Let's skip Thomas this year. He always brings the energy down. Energy. Down. Because apparently not being the family's designated cheerleader/wallet is a buzzkill. Then came the real punch. A video Brooklyn had recorded, accidentally she said, during a dinner at my parents' house. You can hear my mom, clear as day, telling Carter. Thomas will always be the useful one. He's just not warm. He doesn't fit in the same way. Not our fault. He was born serious. Born serious. Born wrong. Like I was defective from day one, and they just adjusted around it. I watched that clip 3 times, then turned off my phone and sat in silence. It wasn't about the money. It was never about the damn engagement party, or who paid for what. It was about identity. About how I'd been cast in their family play as the useful one. The fixer, the background character who claps for the star. And every time I stepped out of that role, even slightly, I was punished for it. Brooklyn's last message said, "You're not crazy. You're just finally saying no." And that hit harder than anything. Because for the first time in my life, someone who'd seen the inside of the dysfunction, the catered dinners, the fake smiles, the twisted loyalty, was saying what I'd always hoped someone would say. That I wasn't the problem. I was the mirror. And mirrors make people uncomfortable when they don't like what they see. That weekend, I did something drastic. I changed my emergency contact at work. Removed my parents. Put Lily, my best friend, instead. Then I filed paperwork to make sure they had no access to my medical decisions, financial records, or property if anything ever happened to me. It felt like drawing a legal line in permanent ink. Because if they wished I'd never been born, well, now they'd feel what it's like to not exist in my life, on paper. But guess who didn't take that well? Mia's dad. Enter Randall. Mia's dad. A man who looks like he invests in crypto but calls it emerging tech, and thinks artisanal honey is a personality trait. Up to this point, Randall had been a silent investor in the Carter and Mia show, funding their wedding, sipping their herbal teas, wearing linen suits at family brunches. But now he wanted answers. Because somewhere along the way, probably through one of Mia's weepy confessions or a bit too much kombucha-fueled honesty, he learned that Carter's brother, aka me, had not only dropped out of the wedding picture but legally distanced myself from the family entirely. And in Randall's world, that kind of drama is bad for optics. So he called me. How? I don't know. Rich people can summon contact info like it's a spell. The phone rang while I was grocery shopping. I almost didn't pick up, but I'm glad I did, because the next 5 minutes were so unhinged I had to step out of the produce aisle. "Thomas," he said, like we were old friends, "I think there's been a misunderstanding." I paused. "Oh? Which part? Being told I should never have existed or being used as a budget line item for a wedding I wasn't invited to?" He laughed. Laughed. Like I was being adorably dramatic. "Look, I'm sure your mother didn't mean that. Emotions run high during planning. But surely you're not going to hold the entire wedding hostage over one unfortunate comment?" That's when I realized they really believed I was the problem. Not the years of favoritism. Not the emotional neglect. Not the gaslighting spreadsheets or guilt campaigns. Me. For saying enough. So I took a breath and decided Randall was going to hear the full, unfiltered version. "Randall," I said, "your daughter's marrying a man who's never held a job for more than 6 months, lives off an allowance from his parents, and thinks a business plan is a Canva template and a dream board." Silence. "And that man's family? They've spent decades emotionally manipulating their eldest son, me, because I didn't fit their golden child fantasy. I've paid rent since I was 19. Paid off my own student loans. Built my own career without a cent from them. And when I said no to funding yet another Carter milestone, my mother said she wished I wasn't born. So no, I'm not coming to the wedding. And if your concern is how that looks, maybe you should ask yourself why that looks bad in the first place." There was a long pause. Then, quietly, "Well, that paints a different picture." "Yeah," I said. "It's called reality. Try living in it sometime." I hung up. An hour later, I got a text from Carter. "Did you seriously tell me as dad I've never had a job?" "No, Carter. I told him you've never kept one." Slight difference. Cue meltdown. Carter started posting vague Instagram stories about bitter people who can't let go of the past, and choosing positivity over drama. Mia followed it up with a picture of a healing crystal next to a caption that said, "Some family is chosen, some is left behind." I nearly choked on my sandwich. But then something incredible happened. Brooklyn, yes, again, DM'd me a screenshot. Apparently, Randall had pulled his financial support. Said the wedding would need to be rescaled until Carter got his act together. And just like that, the dream wedding, the Coldplay cover band, the neon signs, the custom cocktail called the Carter Sparkle, was circling the drain. Meanwhile, I was home, stress-free, watching the chaos unfold from the comfort of my couch with a beer and zero regrets. But then came the next nuclear detonation. My mom showed up. In person. At my door. She stood on my porch in full dramatics, lipstick smudged, oversized sunglasses, and that scarf she only wears when she's trying to look fragile. I didn't open the door. Just cracked it. "Thomas," she whispered, like we were on a soap opera. "Can we please talk?" I stepped outside, shut the door behind me. "We are talking." She gave me the saddest sigh I've ever seen performed. "I didn't mean what I said. You know that." "No," I said. "I don't." "Because you said it. And you've spent 3 decades acting like you meant it." Her face twisted. "This is about the wedding, isn't it? This is about my entire life." She reached for me. I stepped back. "You only show up when something's falling apart, and I'm the last glue stick on the shelf." "Not anymore." She blinked. "I'm your mother. And I was your son," I said. Past tense. Then I went back inside, shut the door. This time I locked it. She stood there for a while, maybe hoping I'd cave. I didn't. Through the peephole, I watched her leave, shoulders slumped, defeated. No tears. Just silence. Later, Carter texted. "What did you say to her?" "She came home crying." I didn't reply. Instead, I lit a candle, poured a drink, and sat on my couch, really sat. No tension in my chest. No guilt. Just peace. The kind you only feel when you finally stop apologizing for existing. 2 months later, I married Lily on a quiet cliffside with 30 people who chose to love me, not just share my last name. No drama. No staged speeches. No tension disguised as tradition. My parents weren't invited. Carter didn't try. Mia posted a poem about release and rebirth. The same day. Fitting. At the reception, my boss clinked a glass and raised a toast. "To Thomas, the most grounded man I know." I looked at Lily, beaming, and thought, yeah. Grounded. Finally. After the cake, my best friend slid me a gift. Inside? A gold coffee mug that read, "The Backup Son." I laughed so hard I almost dropped it. But I kept that mug. Because I'm not the backup anymore. I'm the blueprint. I built a life where I'm not waiting for anyone to clap. And when people ask me how I cut off a whole family and never looked back, I tell them this. Because peace isn't found in forgiveness. It's found in freedom.